Thank you so much, Greg, Mr. Tanaka. Thank you for joining my TV show.
Cryptocurrencies trade 24/7, every second of the day, right? You don't have to wait for the bank to open. It's always open, right? So it's just a way more efficient financial system, and a lot more fair, because the value is not getting all sucked out by people on Wall Street, making hundreds of millions, perhaps even billions of dollars off of society, right? So it's much more fair than what's happening right now with the current centralized finance. Because what's happening with the traditional centralized finance is that it's highly regulated, and it's also a lot of brand goes on. Like you believe Wells Fargo is a great company because they have these branches, and the branches look nice, right? And there's people wearing suits and they look legit, right? And so there's all that money spent on this kind of stuff, but they're not doing a whole lot. They're just moving numbers on a spreadsheet, right? They're not engineering. They're not like making a nice car like Tesla, right? They're not making a rocket ship. They're just moving numbers on a spreadsheet, but they're getting billions of dollars for doing that, right? And so decentralized finance is taking that what I would call unfair compensation to the traditional finance industry and giving it to people who actually are doing real work. So that's what's exciting to me about decentralized finance is a democratization. And this is one of the big reasons why I'm running, is because the people, our elected officials, they totally don't get it. They're totally out of it, right? They think it's a bunch of scam artists. They think it's a bunch of libertarians who don't want to pay taxes. And this part of it is that, but they're missing the bigger opportunity, which is this is like Internet 2.0 type thing, right? They're calling it Web3. This is probably one of the most significant shifts that's happening right now that people don't really realize, and our leaders are making it difficult, right? I mean, the current congresswoman for Silicon Valley, she voted for a provision to basically force everyone that does anything involving crypto to be a broker, right? It's basically trying to put a kibosh on this decentralized finance. It makes no sense. It doesn't understand what's really going on, right? What's really going on is the democratization of finance, making it a lot more fair, right? Because so there's that aspect. The other aspect of it is, have you been following inflation at all?
It is happening right now.
Yeah. So we're having the highest inflation rate in 30 years, in 31 years, right? In fact, it's probably a lot higher than it really is. So I think if you use the same measures of inflation that we did like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, our inflation rate this year was 14%. But they keep changing the CPI around so that to show a lower interest rate. But if you look at the price of gas, you look at the price of just about anything that most people buy, it's way higher than 6%, right? I go to Costco, I buy a box of cherries, and my box of cherries shrunk in half, same price, but I get half the cherries, right? And it's like shrinkflation, right? So, I went to buy like some pizzas for my family, just a family of 4, like 2 pizzas, $90 for 2 pizzas. Like, what the hell, right? It's like insanity, right? So, and so that's the other thing is, inflation is incredibly regressive because the rich have most of their compensation, their income, as well as their wealth in assets, right? But the poorer people have most of their assets in cash, right? And income in cash. So what inflation does, because inflation basically takes money away from everyone, right? Everyone, it's like a tax on everyone at the same level rate, right? There's no progressive taxes here. It's just everyone, except it hurts the poor people more because they have most of their compensation and wealth in cash, not in assets, right? They don't own their house, right? They may not own their car, right? They may not own Bitcoin, right? So basically they get really damaged. And so I think the other thing that the whole cryptocurrency decentralized finance does is, inflation is like the thief in the night, right? He's stealing money away from everyone. It's everyone's getting taxed on it, right? You think that, oh yeah, we're gonna, print 25% more dollars. It doesn't mean, like I'll explain to my kids, right? What is inflation? Just because you print more dollars doesn't mean you have more wealth, right? What it means is that you just, like I was telling them, like, imagine, like, my kids like bananas. So imagine there's 2 bananas, one for each of you, right? And I give you guys an allowance. Like I give you $1 each. And suddenly now I give each of you $2 and you guys could buy bananas. It doesn't mean there's more wealth. The only way to get more wealth is you produce more. You don't get more wealth by printing more dollars. And that's something that I think also a lot of our elected leaders don't realize, is that printing more dollars, right, isn't necessarily helping, right? What's helping is economic vitality. When people produce more, right? When people produce a reusable rocket, when people get electric cars, when there's real wealth is when it's created by not printing money and handing it out. Real wealth is created when you produce things, right? That's where wealth is created, right? Everything else is just an accounting. Money is just an accounting system. That's not wealth. It's how you allocate the things that you produce. Wealth is the production of things, and I think a lot of our elected leaders don't think about that, right? They think that, oh, we just print a bunch of money, cause a bunch of inflation, and we're better off. But we're not. We're distorting the economy, right? We are causing dislocations in the economic system. And so I think that's the other thing that the whole decentralized finance does, is it prevents a lot of that kind of corruption of our money system, right? The money, like all money, is based on faith, right? And by destroying that faith, it's not good. It's not good. It's not, especially not good for the poorer people in our country, right? And I had a very poor upbringing, so I'm very much not for that, because I've been there where we're totally destitute. We are truly scraping bottom, trying to make it, right? And we don't want that. We shouldn't subject people to that. We want to make it easier for people, not harder. So that's why I'm really behind this decentralized finance, is because, first of all, it takes the big bonuses away from the fat cats in Wall Street. That's one thing. But the second thing it does is it prevents this thief in a knife, inflation, from stealing money away from poor people, right? Why? It's one of the most undemocratic things you can do, right? Why is it right to? In fact, it's like a regressive tax, right? It's like a higher tax for poor people than rich people. Why would you want to do that, right? Rich people don't keep their money in cash. They keep it in stocks. They keep it in land. They keep it in Bitcoin. They keep it in a bunch of other things, right? And so they don't get affected by inflation that much, but the common person does. And so why are we damaging? Why are we making it tough for like, people are talking about now how like cost of everything has gone up so much, like people could barely make it because everything's so much more expensive. Like, that's not right? That's not what we want to do. And so I think there's a lot of misguided thinking. Just like people don't understand basic economics, right?
China, just look at China, that they have, already got rid of almost 100% of cash, where everybody is using their cell phone to go
WeChat,
anywhere and spending the money, and all the money system is just toward maybe just one or two financial main, or the government is basically controlling everything, where people can spend money or taking money from anywhere, and they checking, and that's the little bit different in this country, that where people are still thinking, where if all my money is in the bank, or is in somewhere where I don't have cash in my pocket, they don't feel safe, because everyone kind of like everyone knows how I spend my money, controlling my freedom. So but you think that the country was still keeping some cash for the people? And I think despite the fact that we have really high inflation, it's not like Argentina or like Weimar Republic, right? Or some places where they have like hyperinflation. So it's not like we have the dollar is still the global currency. So it's not like it's destroyed. People still buy bonds, right? Which is good. But I can tell you, China, they're really focused on the central bank digital currency. They have this whole Belt and Road initiative. I'm not sure you heard about it, but China wants to be. They want to replace the dollars, right? They want the RMB to become the global currency, right? There's a lot of advantages of being the global currency, and I think that's another big issue. Is that a lot of the leaders here in our country are asleep at the wheel. They don't realize like China's mission, right? They have a concerted effort to be number one in AI, number one in semiconductors, number one in so many different areas, and they're putting money behind it, money and effort behind it. And one of the things is currency, right? So I think we want to keep the dollar strong. We want the dollar to remain the global currency. But I think what the advantage of having these decentralized finance by having the cryptocurrencies is
right now the government has a monopoly on money, right? The dollar, right? It's legal tender, but the cryptocurrencies basically provide an alternative, right? So whenever there's competition, right, good things come, right? So it doesn't matter what it is, right? So you look at, smartphones, right? There's intense smartphone competition, and because there's intense smartphone competition, we get better smartphones all the time, which is great. Like same price, better phone, right? And the same thing with money, right? If there's more competition, basically, I think that would make the dollar better. It also gives consumers a choice, right? Right now they don't have a choice, so the government could just go ahead and deflate everything, right? Basically, they could go ahead and inflate, everything, and they can't do anything about it. It's basically without your permission, without you filing a tax return, they're taking money from your wallet, right? So for instance, let's say you had $100 in your account, right? Basically $14 have been subtracted from your account automatically, right? Not in your income, your account. So 14% of your money has been taken from your bank account without your permission, right? That's what inflation is doing, is essentially an automatic withdrawal of any cash you have without your permission, right? Without your consent. And so that's what the cryptocurrency does, is it provides competition for the dollar. I think we'll still have the dollar. I think that's still good. We still want to keep it. We want to keep it strong, but it basically, by providing a competition to money, right, rather than a monopoly on money, it creates competition. So both become better, because both have to do better to get people to use it.
I see. Well, I think we got so much information. I think it's great for people to get to educate about this new cryptocurrency, and you have been sharing a lot of your knowledge to the people. And I think I personally really supporting your point and everything. Do you have anything else you want to say to the people?
I think the other thing that's happening is redistricting. So that's something that's happening right now. So every 10 years, the Constitution of the United States says that we have to do a census, and then we redistrict, right? So each congressional district has to have the same number of people. So they're redistricting. But let me show you. So they're redistricting Silicon Valley, right? And so like Palo Alto 10 years ago wasn't majority Asian, but today it is. Los Altos wasn't majority Asian, but today it is, right? So many of these Silicon Valley cities have become majority Asian, right? So, but what's crazy is under the new redistricting maps that they've been drawing up, they basically took out a lot of the Asian cities, like Cupertino, right? Cupertino is heavily Chinese. They took it out and basically put in other cities that are more white. And by doing that, even though Silicon Valley right now, Santa Clara County is now majority Asian, it's 40% Asian, they got the Asian down to 22%. Because they basically, so you look at the shape of this, right? This is like not a regular shape, right? It's a very weird looking shape. And the reason why is because they're gerrymandering the hell out of it, right? They're basically, here, let me draw on this. They basically carved out a lot of the Asian cities, right? They took that out. And what they did was they added a bunch of white cities in here, or cities that are mainly white, right? And the reason why they did that is because like they took like this whole other county, right? This is not even part of Santa Clara County, it's San Mateo County or Santa Cruz County. And so generally what they're supposed to do with the districts is keep areas of interest the same, right? So like the CEO of Apple lives in Palo Alto, then he commutes down to Cupertino, right? So this, like, when people think of Silicon Valley, they think of they think of this as Silicon Valley. Palo Alto, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, Cupertino, they think of that as Silicon Valley, right? That's what most people think of Silicon Valley. But they basically threw in this Pescadero, Loma Mar, like all this stuff here, right? They threw in a lot of these other cities that are not, that are in a different county. And they're doing that because they're trying to silence the Asian vote. So one of the big issues right now is the commission right now is basically going to silence the Asian voice for the next 10 years, right? They basically, in Santa Clara County, it's 40% Asian, right? But according to this district, because of the really messed up way they drew it, right, it's now only about 20% Asian. It's like half of what it is, right? Because you did all this crazy stuff, right? And to me, this is one of the travesties going on, right? Is that they're making this area now 60% white, right? it's like 60% white, even though like if you drew it along regular, if you drew like I have too much stuff on here, but if you drew it on like the way, you know, most people would do it, like along county lines and like what people consider Silicon Valley, right? This would be about 40% Asian, right? The majority. But because they're trying to like basically split up the Asian vote, they basically split Silicon Valley in half by doing this, and they're trying to dilute the Asian voice. They basically they threw in all the other areas that are like more white. They have nothing to do with Silicon Valley. They're basically like depowering Asians, right? And I think this is inexcusable. I mean, the current congressman, she spent money on a redistricting consultant, right? And I don't know if that person had any influence on this, but it's not right in terms of what they're doing, right? They're not supposed to draw like weird shapes like this. It's supposed to be along county lines, county and city lines. It shouldn't be like they're splitting up the county. They went to extreme measures to get this 20%. That's the only way they can do it. They gerrymander the hell out of it. Look at this. This is like, I mean, it's just a sliver of the connection between them, right? There's this gigantic carve out, and they did that to basically make it so that Asians can't win elections. So we have from now until like mid-December to call into the redistricting commission, redraw the lines in California to tell them this is not right. You should not silence the Asian voice, right?
Yeah.
We already don't have good representation, right? So how is this right? Like in who, like, even if you're not into politics, who thinks that this looks like a regular map, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who thinks that there's no other district like this that has such crazy carve-outs like this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is like, you know, a 3-year-old could do a better job in drawing a map, right?
Yeah, that's not right.
And so this is the other thing which hopefully maybe your viewers can help fix, but they should call in and complain that this is crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is what's coming down the pike right now. This is the latest map, right? Which is basically very unfair to Asians.
So how they silence Asian voice?
Yeah, well, they split us up, right? They split Silicon Valley in half deliberately, so that basically, like, even cities are really closely related. Like Mountain View and Sunnyvale are very similar cities. Santa Clara, like, you know, when people talk about Silicon Valley, they think of these cities. These are the cities that people think of as Silicon Valley, right? These are the Silicon Valley cities. They basically split us in half, right?
Right.
And then they added in a bunch of other stuff that's not Silicon Valley.
Right.
And so Asians, even though we already don't have much representation, we're going to get even less. Right. But the problem with Asians is that we don't get involved. We don't follow this stuff. We don't run for office. We don't get involved in political campaigns. We don't donate. You know, we don't vote. Like Asian Americans have one of the lowest voting rates. And you know, even though we have pretty low voting rates, they're doing stuff like this that make it even tougher for Asians to win.
Right.
So I think this is one big travesty. So it'd be great if you could do a story around this, because this is terrible. This is not representation, right? This is not fair politics. This is like deciding the election before the election, right? Dirty.
Yes. Right?
Like how like politics majority Asian. How did you turn an area that's majority Asian white? How'd you do it? Well, you draw a map like this, right? It's like
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really doesn't make sense. I mean, they if that's the case, I think they can draw, you know, a big circle on the whole California.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like I don't think like this kind of shape like passes the smell test, right? Because I tell you, one other thing, I look at Jewish Americans. There's less Jewish people in the United States than Asian Americans, but the Jewish people, they are organized and they support each other, right? And they have 10x the political power of Asian Americans, even though they're like less than half the size of the Asian Americans. And it's, I look at them and I'm so envious.
They don't doubt.
They don't doubt. Oh my God.
Yeah, they will just follow one direction.
Yeah. They support each other.
I have dealing with all Jewish people, and I've been doing business with them for a long time. And they stick together.
Yes,
and
absolutely. Absolutely.
They believing helping the same race is just going to be to make the best for themselves. Yeah. But Asian people, especially some Asian people, they don't believe in the same thing. Sometimes they have too much issue from each other, and that's the problem. I understand.
We're kind of divided.
That is why I'm not doing this for money. I have my business. I have my other stuff to do. I'm also very busy, a family man, but I also putting a lot of time on this because I believe that I have been here for 30 years, that I want my audience, I want the Chinese people understands that how we're going to to live here for our future and for our kids. If we not helping the Asian, if we not acting as an Asian, if we one day you success, you have money, but you hide somewhere, you act like you're different, I'm all whitewash, or I'm all different, I'm different than all you Asians. That's wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
We have been there. We all have been there. And sometimes I wanted to go back to Chinatown and help some elder people, and to making sure that I can pass that knowledge to all my kids and my friends and all the Asian people, so that we can be stronger. I think we can be stronger.
Absolutely. I think that's a great thing. So thank you, Bosco, so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. And if I could get to that party, that'd be great. Or if you could help organize one for me, that'd be awesome. But I really appreciate your work and support.
好了，今天非常感谢林田中先生 Great Tanaka 来到跟我们在这个节目里边跟我们分享了很多关于他自己所讲的一些他的见解。我希望在不久的将来呢，林先生能够又回到我们的节目当中，又跟大家见面。非常谢谢你 ，Thank you very much, Mr. Tanaka.
Thank you so much, Bosco, for the opportunity.